Hi friends, welcome back. Naji here. We are continuing a discussion on LangGraph, and in this video we will be discussing on multi-agent system architecture with LangGraph. So here we are specifically discussing on supervisor agent architecture. Okay. So if you are looking on this particular diagram, high level architecture diagram, we can see that there is a one supervisor agent is there. The supervisor agent will be communicating with the math agent, and the math agent will again communicate back to the supervisor agent. Then here also we can see the supervisor agent will communicate the web search agent, and the web search agent will communicate back to the supervisor agent. Okay, so which means the supervisor agent is the center of communication, and the supervisor agent will decide which agent it has to be called next. Okay, so consider a scenario. We are trying to calculate the population of India and the population of the USA. Okay, so consider if that is the query. Okay, user is asking that, okay, calculate the population population India and with the population of USA. Okay, so the query will come to the supervisor agent. Okay, so supervisor agent knows there are two agents are there. One is math agent and another is the web search agent. Okay, so from the context it knows that first we need to call the web search agent, okay, to get the population is India and the population of USA. Okay, so first it will send a request to the web search agent and ask him to collect the necessary information. Okay, so the web search agent will collect the information and which will send back to the supervisor agent. Okay, so once the supervisor agent receives the data, it will send back to the math agent. Then math agent will do the necessary calculations and it will send back to the supervisor agent. So once all the calculations are done, it will send the result back to the user. Okay, so that is how the supervisor agent architecture will work, and it is very simple to implement with the LangGraph. So LangGraph has already have a package that is called the LangGraph supervisor package. So just go and install this package, and this particular package we can implement very easily using this particular framework. Okay. So this is my requirement.txt file. Okay, so please try to install all the supporting requirements. So ensure that you guys are using LangGraph 0.3.30 version. Okay, so there is, at the time of this recording, there is another version is available, that is 0.3.31 version is available, but somehow that version is not working with most of the features. Okay, so you guys can try it out. If the latest versions are available, you can try and see like if that is working or not. Fine. Okay, so we can start importing few packages and we can try to implement this particular architecture. Okay, so for that, first what we can do, I can import the chat OpenAI. So we will be using the chat OpenAI. Then from the LangGraph supervisor, I can import the create supervisor. Okay, then from LangGraph we can import the pre-built agent also. Okay, so once the installation is done, we can create a model. So this will be our chat model, chat OpenAI, and model will be GPT. Okay, so for the supervisor agents, it is always better to use the best model. Okay, because it has to take care of lot of things. So I have tried with the GPT-4o mini, but sometimes if we are using GPT-4o mini with the supervisor agent, it may not work always in a better way. Okay, so it is always good to have the best LLM model as a supervisor agent. Okay, so currently I am using the GPT-4o for all the agents. Okay, now let me have a few methods. So first let me define a add method. Here we have a float, two numbers are there, and I am returning the float value. Return a plus b. Okay, to make it a tool, what is mandatory is, okay, so we need to have the docstring. So let me define the docstring add two numbers. Now we can have multiply also. Can have again two numbers. I can return float, return a star b. Okay. So here I am not giving any doc string. We'll see what will happen if you didn't give the doc string. Okay. Now as a web search tool, we will be using the DuckDuckGo search result. Okay. So that will be available in LangChain tools. We can import DuckDuck search result, and here I can we can have a web tool, DuckDuck search rule, and set the number of results as maybe make it 5. So what we need to install this particular package. So let me execute this. Pip install DuckDuckGo search. Okay, so the installation is in progress. Okay, I will add this with my requirement file. Okay, so let me execute it again. Okay, now it's successfully run. Now we can define a web search function. So let me have a web search function. Here we will receive a query. Okay, then we will return the query back. Define the doc string. The purpose is search the web for information. So whenever we need to search the information from the web, we have to use this particular method. So the result will be, I can invoke the web search tool. The web tool can be invoked using the query. Just return the result. Okay. So we have necessary functions are ready. Now we can start creating the agents. Okay. So first we are going to create a math agent. Let me call it as math agent. Okay. I can use create react agent. My model will be model, that is the GPT-4o model that we already created. Now the tools, I'm going to add two functions with as a tool, that is the add and the multiply. I need to give a name. The name will be math expert. I can give a prompt. I can say that you are a math expert, right? Always use one tool at a time. Okay. So I try to execute that. Now we are getting an error. Okay. So here it says function must have a doc string if description is not provided. So this error is because we intentionally didn't provide any doc string for multiply, right? So that's why we are getting this error. So let me add this. I can say multiply two numbers. Okay. So web search math agent. Okay. So the math agent is ready. Now we can click on the research agent. In the similar way, we can create the research agent. My model will be the same model I will be using. We can use different models also. Here we will be using the web search. We must need a name, otherwise we will get an error when we work with the supervisor agent. I can have an expert, then we can give a prompt. The prompt, I can say that you are a world class researcher with access to web search. Do not do any math. Okay, just search for it. You don't need to do any math. Okay, for do the math, we have the math agent will be there. Okay, Now we can specify the workflow. Here we are going to create a supervisor agent. So we can specify the agents that we are going to use, that is the research agent and one is the math agent. The model will be the same model. Now the prompt. Here I can give you are a team supervisor managing research and math expert. The prompt is very important. If you give the clear instructions or clear prompt, then it is very easy to allow to work. For current events, use research agent. For math problems, use math agent. Okay, so the workflow is done. Now I can compile this. Workflow.compile. Okay, so we are actually done with implementing the supervisor architecture, agent architecture. Now we can start executing this. For that I can use result. We can have a app.invoke messages. Okay. Now just trigger the details. So I am going to give a role as user. Now user warning. Give a role as a user. Now I can pass the content. Okay. So I am going to ask find the maybe total population of India and total population of USA and calculate the total population. Okay, so this is the query that we are going to ask. The same example that I have mentioned earlier. Let me execute this. We'll see what will happen. So the execution is in progress. We are not doing any streaming now. Okay. Okay. So the execution is completed. Now we can check the result. Okay. See the result here. We can see a set of things are there. First one is the find the. So this is our message, right? This is the human message is there. Then there is a AA message is there. So just check this. Okay, here we can see successfully transferred to research expert. Okay, so the supervisor agent decided to call the research expert. Then we can see AA message. The current population of India in 2023 is estimated to be approximately people and all those things. And if you scroll down a little bit, you can say United States population also. Okay. Then once the research is done, it is transferring back to supervisor. You can see that it's transferring back to supervisor. Then successfully transferred back to supervisor. Okay. Then it is trying to call the math expert. Okay. So the total population India and US is approximately this much people. Then once the calculation is done, it is transferring back to the supervisor. Then transferring back to super, and this is successfully transferred to the supervisor, and we can see the final result here. The total population of India and US is combined approximately this many people. Okay, so in this way, this is successfully completed the calculations, right? So this, as I mentioned earlier, okay, so if you coming back to the architecture, the query will come to the supervisor agent, and supervisor will agent communicate to the web search agent. Then the web search agent will send back to the supervisor agent, and supervisor agent will call the math agent. And once the calculation is done, it will return back to the supervisor agent. Okay. So I believe it is very clear, and everybody understood how the multi-agent supervisor architecture is working. And that is all about in this video. Please do like and subscribe. Have a nice day. Bye bye.